And I just wanted to start out mentioning I'm kind of inspired these days, but about nothing specific, just about just about the the quality, and I don't mean good or bad. I just mean life itself seems to have such a presence when we can really find time to rest, when we can really find time to slow down into life itself. So I just read this book, a brand new book by a Nobel laureate biologist, Paul Nurse, and the name of the book was "What Is Life?" And I thought, oh, good, kind of like excited. Finally, science will be able to explain what life is, but also a little bit suspicious, kind of knowing better. So I read the book, and it was on the level of living up to its title. It was quite a disappointment because basically what he did, and he did so quite interestingly, is he just described the elements, what cells are, what genes are, what DNA is, but there was no quintessential what is life. Uh, and the interesting thing about that is that's precisely really what we're exploring in a practice, in a meditation, where we're slowing down enough, we're coming as close as we can get to the body and to the mind, just to the immediacy of our experience, to the raw data of our experience. And the reason I do understand that we'll never come to a scientific definition, we'll never be able to hold on to intellectually what is life, is because your mind is not a thing. You are not a thing. You are an openness. You are a presence. You are an awareness. So let us begin our meditation with just resting in uh, that profound truth that uh, we can experience just through the directness of the experience that we're having with our breath and our thinking and our feeling. You are not a thing. Your mind is not a thing. You are an openness. You are a presence. You are an awareness. Now the meditation of yoga. Good. So let us, if we have any, a guiding principle, let the guiding principle again be just staying as close as you can to the immediacy of your experience. So whatever your experience is, it's absolutely perfectly okay. And we just allow it to be, we allow it to contract, we allow it to expand, we allow it to arise, and we allow it to pass away. And from there, we then investigate or not. You may just be investigating the simple fabric of the mechanical body. You may be investigating a way that your mind is holding on to something that is causing you anxiety, or any number of things. So we come into this practice without agenda, but simply the willingness to rest and the willingness to trust. Good. So I'd like to begin very gently by just laying on your belly. And you have a choice here. I've done it both ways. You can just lay on your belly with just flat on the floor. Or if you'd like to put something soft under your belly, uh, not certainly the big bolster, I'm just putting a little pillow here, just to create the tiniest bit of compression. And then let the legs relax out. And we're not going to necessarily at this moment stay on the forearms. We're not trying to come into a backward bend. But before we go down, I'm just going to let you rest your forehead on your hands. What we're going to do, just in case you want to be able to see it, is we're just going to bend the knees up. Yeah. So both knees are going to be bent up. And again, the upper body will be down. And then from here, we're just going to start to let them go to the right side and to the left side. And you don't have to drop them down so much to be in a full twist. You just kind of feel into it at first. So either the belly flat or a pillow under the belly. Let now your upper body come down and just make a little pillow with your hands and rest your head on your hands pillow. So the upper body is relaxed. Then we'll bend the knees and we're just going to start just kind of investigating here. Investigating sensation, investigating any resistance. So we have the knees bent and then just the weight of the legs back and forth, nice and slow. And if you want to stop on one side, if you do want to make it into a bit of a twist, feel free. You just kind of feel like, oh yeah, resistance, but not pushing or forcing, or range of motion. What does that feel like? You can even at some point do some circles with the feet. I also like to flex the feet and then bring the heels back towards the buttocks. So just kind of play with this. And really giving your body permission to relax. So oftentimes when the mind, the thinking process is, several steps ahead of the body or preoccupied certainly with something, we don't really take the time or really even understand how to come into the immediacy of our direct experience. We just want to feel. And then if you'd like to come up on the forearms, that would be a choice you could make, but only if you'd like to. It's nice keeping the upper body and just staying relaxed. Side to side, and then maybe some circles a little bit, and maybe bringing the heels back. So either way, if you want to come up and bring a little compression into the lower back. And then at some point, just let all the motion of the legs stop. We still have the knees bent, and just start to make circles with the ankles. And if you don't regularly spend time feeling into the ankles, these are incredibly complex joints, lots of little bones, and incredible amount of ligaments responsible for your posture, for your gait, for your balance. So taking care of the feet, but particularly the ankle. So feel into that. Good. So you can relax the legs down now. And if you're up on the forearms, relax back down and just take a few, or just start some very soft, gentle breathing into your belly. And so one of the great advantages of cultivating this this immediate experience is we can really feel whatever we're feeling in this area of the gut. It's profoundly intelligent. It's profoundly connected to all systems of the body. And it's not an area of the body that we can think our way into. We have to feel our way into it. So often a little bit of conscious breathing allows for that feeling to be a little more present. And oftentimes we're feeling into, not so much, anatomical places of tension or resistance, but more just this sort of weariness or anxiety or tension that's woven into the very fabric of the intestines and the gut area. This is when I say an intelligent area, I'm also suggesting it's an area of just profound emotional intelligence. And so if we disconnect from this area, then we're not able to then let the emotional intelligence of the gut, the heart intelligence, and the brain intelligence be fully integrated. Okay, so from here, just come on up. Maybe just pull yourself into a bit of a child's pose would be nice to transition here. So from the belly now, sort of compressing into the belly a little bit. So either this, the child's pose, or it might also be nice to come to a tabletop, come to all fours, and just kind of slink around a little bit. So, and I know the cat part can be slinky. I don't know if cows actually get slinky, but the cat cow with a little hip movement. Yeah, I don't think cows get slinky, but I know kitty. I have a kitty and it's a pretty slinky creature. So just kind of move the hips around a little bit. Press the lower back up to the ceiling, let it drop down. Oh, good. Good. So let's sit up now, and I want to set up for some backward bending. And I am using the large bolster here for height and firmness. So if you do not have a large bolster, this works just as well with some pillows. Yeah, these pillows seem to work well. Maybe I would put just maybe one more blanket. I'd maybe put a blanket between them or a towel. So you get the idea. We're just trying to mimic the firmness and the height of this bolster. And the height may not work for you, or it may work for you. So you want to also have a blanket nearby, and something for your head would be advisable, maybe. Sometimes it's nice to let the head dangle. So what I'm going to suggest, let's just go into this, and then the other parts I'll explain when we get there. We're just going to open the rib cage a little bit as well. Yeah, so we're going to sit on the floor in front of the bolster or the pillows, with it going horizontally, hip to hip. If you have the pillows, that might not make so much difference, but we do want to have the buttocks grounded on the floor. The reason I suggest to have a blanket nearby is if this is too severe or not accessible to you, you can always just sit up on a blanket. Yeah. So the more you obviously elevate the hips, the less stress is going to be applied in the backward bend. And this may be just what you need. So you may want to have one, just as the minutes go by, you may want to slip it under. So always keeping the feet on the floor and the buttocks on the floor, and then just easing into this. If you have the pillows, make sure the shoulders are not on the pillows. We want the upper body to drape over. And I could just let my head dangle because my neck's feeling pretty good these days, but you may want to just bring something a little under the head. Try not to elevate the back of the head so much that the chin starts to tuck in. Well, this will just alter the natural curve of the upper spine into the very upper spine. So we want that natural curve. So just be be a little conservative with how much you bring the head up. And then if this feels good, if this feels sustainable over the course of time, then feel free to let the legs relax out. It's going to add a little bit more pressure, kind of pulling the hips down. So don't second guess it. If it doesn't feel safe, if you don't feel like you're going to be able to rest in this position as you feel the compression, then just sit on something or make it work for you. So if you have back issues or stuff, then you may not want to be this deep. Good. So just set yourself in that backward bend, and we'll begin here. Allowing your breath to just very naturally find its own rhythm, and trust that you will go in and out of places where you will just completely forget about the breath and be able to appreciate that the body breathes itself, and your awareness will drift elsewhere. Other times you will feel this rhythm of the breathing and feel the movement of the inhale and the space of the transition and the movement of the exhale. So just let this be very natural. And also allow yourself to very naturally, and there's no prescription for this, there's no technique for this, but just to very naturally settle into this felt sense, this sort of tone sense that you are this openness, this presence, this awareness. And one of the ways that we connect with this is this does not change. This presence is just presence. Awareness is just awareness. Openness has no boundaries, has no beginning, no end. So when we relate to or feel ourselves, either the mind or the body or an emotion, as a thing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. But we can also see that that thing arises, that thing comes into awareness, comes into openness, comes into presence, but it also fades and dissolves from openness and presence and awareness. And let this happen very naturally. This is part of the rest. This is part of the relaxation. We start to lose interest, disconnect from things, and allow ourselves to feel ourselves as this open, spacious awareness. So from here, if you're still in this lovely backward bend, keep the right leg extended out and just bend the left knee and put that left foot on the floor. Yeah, so this may be a little trickier if you have a configuration of blankets and pillows, but you can still do it. You may just have to adjust over a bit to the left. And so what we're going to do here, it's easier on the big bolster because it's still, you have plenty of space there. So from the backward bend with the left foot firm on the floor, just roll over to the right. Yeah, so you're going to come onto the right rib cage. Careful that, I'm not up in the armpit and I'm not in the waist. Then you can bend both legs and let them relax. The nice thing here, so you're not leaning too far over, you're not leaning too far back, you're just kind of centered on this bolster on the right rib cage, is to take the left arm and just extend it out and over. So if you've got the right hand extending out from your head out, you may, as if you're going to bring both hands together. And this is just, I don't know for you, but for me, this is incredibly lovely to stretch the muscles between the ribs, the intercostals, not an area we usually get to. You can let the head just dangle off to the side, come onto the right bicep, or if you need a little something under there, that's okay. But it's nice to let the head dangle because this sort of completes the lateral flexion of the spine this way. So we don't often get the spine in this direction, so it's very nice. And if it's feeling particularly resistant or stiff in these ribs, a bit of breath just to kind of soften it up a bit. So you feel as you inhale, there's an expansion in the rib cage. You exhale, we release and relax that expansion. So just kind of play with it and feel it. I often talk about the contraction, at the level of the myofascia of the respiratory diaphragm. But same with the intercostal muscles, they're interwoven with fascia. And when the rib cage starts to tighten, obviously it inhibits the free flow of breath and the volume of breath. So we want the rib cage to be open and flexible so it has some movement as we breathe.
Okay, good. So let's get that left foot back on the floor and slowly roll back into the backward bend here. So we'll just take a second here before we go to the other side, really just to let those ribs come back into a semblance of equilibrium. And then the other side then will allow the left leg to stay relaxed out. We'll bend that right knee and put the right foot on the floor, and we'll roll over onto the left rib cage. So just the broadest part, really supportive on the ribs. Left arm will extend out on the floor. You can bend the legs to support the hips, however feels supportive. And then again, it's nice to take that right arm and just stretch it up and out and over. Oh, yeah, yeah. So lovely. And I know I say these things are lovely a lot, and I don't mean lovely in that they necessarily feel good in the moment. I mean lovely that your body has the incredible capacity to communicate with you. So however you're feeling, good or bad is really not an issue. The fact that you're feeling and you're able to become sensitive to what you're feeling, listen to what you're feeling, and pay attention to what you're feeling, this is the practice. So don't label, don't judge, don't get into good or bad or diagnose, but really pay attention to the fabric of your body. And this is lovely. It is lovely that we live in an organism that is so, incredibly creative and expressive, and has such a natural ability to heal itself. And again, you can feel free to merge the inhale with the movement of the rib cage and do this very sensitively. This is, part of the paying attention. Good. So I'm hoping that you're on your left ribs. If that is the case, let's just, you may want to put that right foot back on the floor, but let's just roll off to the left. So we're just going to come off of your pillows or your bolster and just curl into a little ball for a few moments here. We're going to keep going with this sequence, but it's, so nice to, just sort of feel the somatic immediacy of your experience. It's just lovely to be in the body. Good. So let's come on up. So we'll sit up, and we're just simply going to bring the soles of the feet together. And sometimes I like to bring something, a pillow or a blanket or a bolster on top of my feet, because it gives me a really nice natural place to put my arms. You may want to put your hands first. We're going to come forward with a rounded spine. So oftentimes, especially after a backward bend, there's some tentativeness of this forward bend. So supporting yourself into it is really good to have the lower back feel safe, and just ease into the first layers of the sensations, and then really do slow down. So you have something to support this torso weight with. Keep relaxing the lower back. At some point, really try to drop the head down so the neck can relax. So we're feeling like we're really connecting the sacral spine with the upper cervical spine. and just relax into this position. And another thing with keeping the hands in a stable place is if you need to withdraw a little bit, if it ever you're not sure, withdraw, evaluate, and then proceed from there.
Moment to moment, being able to just simply trust the dynamic flow of your own energy and let the mind relax. And again, we don't have to make a technique out of letting the mind relax. But as we do get some distance from this arising and passing of thoughts, we can start to see that these thoughts can be, almost frictionless, very non-adhesive, and that there's a dynamic energy that we really want to bring our awareness to and explore. A thought will just isolate, a thought will just superimpose something onto your experience. And to feel that it's a sense of flow, that it's a dynamic flow, that yes, we are here and we are alive. And what is this aliveness?
Good. So let's come on up from this. And before we move on, sometimes it's really nice to just come up, let the vertebra unstack, come to a straight spine, and then relax back into it. So we just bring a little bit of this passive movement into that, the static hold. And just do this a couple of times. It's nice to have the imagery of softening. And again, it's nice to feel this kind of unstacking and then compressing the each and every little vertebra of the spine. Relax the head down. Good. So we'll come back up, and then we're going to go back into the same backward bend. So the only thing to really evaluate is whether you're going to go at the same height, go a little bit lower, or even if you wanted to go a little bit higher, uh, if you were sitting on the blanket, you may want to remove the blanket. I wouldn't elevate this bolster. If you're just using the bolster, I wouldn't go any higher. Of course, that's your choice. So again, we'll sit on the floor with the bolster crossways from hip to hip, horizontal, feet on the floor, having something to sit on if you need or like, having something for your head if you need or like, and pretty much the same position. We're trying to keep it as low in the lumbar area as possible. I know the size makes that, not very specific, but the shoulders are clearly draping over, whether it's pillows or blanket, and then just let the legs relax out. So second time around, we never know. The muscles, the fascia could have contracted a bit and we need to go a little more shallow, or they may have released and opened and we can go a little bit deeper. So always setting the depth where you feel safe, it's appropriate, and you can almost forget about the time. So this is where you want to just drift. Why it's important to feel safe and be receptive to what you're feeling. If you're in the position and you're wondering if you're safe, you're in too deep. So we don't want to be too deep. It's just counterproductive. The fascia, if it doesn't feel safe and the muscle is too engaged and it's protecting, we stay in protection mode, it's only going to maintain or cultivate more tension. We're trying to soften these threads of collagen, elastin fibers, and just open the system and let it relax. It can start out as a very gentle letting go. And you can play with this, just letting go of the primacy of thought. Thought will convince you that it's the most important thing that there is. Thought just wants to dominate everything about your experience. So question that, begin to let go of that. The thoughts will be there if you need them.
And then again, letting the thoughts be just a little vaguer, a little more frictionless. When we explore the the definition of yoga as union, it can often be slightly misunderstood to think that there's something to do, that we're separate and we have to do our practices to become whole. This is a misunderstanding. When we say yoga, it's a simple recognition of our wholeness. How could we not be? You know, how does one find something that's not missing? And if you feel separate, then you seek. Then you turn the yoga into a practice of seeking, of looking for something that's not missing. How do we get to wholeness if we're already whole? And again, this is a simple recognition. This is the immediacy of our direct experience. And you know, the heart knows this. This is a knowing that's beyond our mental capacity. Don't try to think about this. In a way, it's a paradox. You know, it's a paradox that only really the heart can bear, that the heart can resolve. You are not in any way broken. You are not fragmented. You are not separate. You are a perfect masterpiece. So if you would like to bring your arms up over your head, if you haven't already, and again, feeling this movement of the muscles between the ribs, the opening of the shoulders. And then you can relax the arms. And let's go. I want to do that same thing only because it's lovely. So we're just gonna, this time, let's go to the left side first. So keep that left leg extended, bring the right foot up, and just for some support, because we're gonna roll over to the left this time. So the right leg is supportive, and just a simple roll onto these left ribs. So the same thing, then you can stabilize the legs. You can take this right arm and just extend it out, or not. You can just let it kind of fall over the head. Just the weight of the arm will pull in some interesting places. I just kind of like to stretch it out. Sometimes if it touches the floor, I'll even kind of walk the fingers out a little bit and really, just feel that incredible opening along the sort of the rippling along the top part of the right rib cage. Good. So let's roll back. We won't stay here as long since we've already been here, but we'll come back into the backward bend. Take a moment here to regroup. And we'll put the left foot on the floor and go over to the right ribs and the same thing. Hey, there is no special prize for all the seeking that we do. This is one of the lures of seeking and searching, that someday, if we get it right, there'll be a special prize, a special enlightened prize. But the prize is just being alive. This is more wonderful and fantastical than we could ever imagine. And this is why we want to have our practice be one of rest and trust, so we can explore this. Not the stories we superimpose on what being alive is, but the actual fabric, quality, energy, mystery of aliveness. We don't have to wait. We don't have to go looking for it. We don't have to earn it. We don't have to fight for it. We can relax into it and just breathe and be alive. Okay, so let's roll off of this. And again, roll off, curl up into a little ball or something that feels restorative after this backward bend. And we're going to finish up with one more forward bend. So we've done this a back and forth thing. but a little different. So when you're ready, come on up. And instead of bringing the soles of the feet together, just relax your legs out at about hip width distance. If you would like to, sometimes it's nice, depending on where you're at in your lower back, is to put something under the knees, maybe just a little bit wider than the hips. The small bolster, like I'm showing, or you could certainly just roll up a blanket. It just alleviates the restriction in the back of the legs for most of us and allows us to indulge a little bit more in the lower back. But your choice. If you're feeling good in the back of the legs and you don't want or need it, feel free to just, it's sort of a trade-off depending on how tight your hamstrings are. So either way, and then just come on forward. And be particularly mindful that there's no element of stretching here, that we're not trying to bring this, forehead towards the ankles. No, not at all. We are attempting to unengage the intrinsic muscles of the lower back right from the start. So then the upper torso weight will pull us really slowly down and inward. And the more we unengage the lower back muscles, the more we'll hit that edge. It's substantially different, the edge at the ligament, than the muscle. So not stretching, but just applying this therapeutic compression little by little by little, safely and slowly. Yeah, I said earlier that the practice is one of profound rest and trust. And one of the areas I feel that we get to, play with this trust is this idea of relaxing our attachment to the primacy of thought. Because thought seems like it's such a important, solid, linear process that it actually defines us. A sense of me and thought often are so tangled up, we can't separate them. So the trust comes from actually having to step into this and start to relax that attachment to the tightness, the anxiety of the thinking, and start to pay attention to all of the other signals that we're getting from the gut, from the heart, from the soma itself. This is a cultivation of intuition. So we cultivate our intuition by paying attention to these other non-linear, non-cognitive parts of ourself. And not that we want one or the other to dominate, but we want to come into a centeredness with it. We want to be able to listen to our deeper intuition, and we want to be able to then use our intellect creatively. Once we bring balance, and we can talk about this yin and yang, we can talk about this intellect, intuition, masculine and feminine. But once we bring ourselves back into alignment, then the sense of balance just dissipates. We're just centered, we're just balanced. So it's a very subtle process of how we're exploring this. My suggestion is the function of our practice, the function of our meditation is to relax and to trust.
Okay, so let's come on up from here. And make yourself comfortable, and let's take a rest. So we'll take a nice rest here, because that was a sort of an ongoing sequence, and then we'll move on. And also, it makes me think that this is not simply a listening to the inner workings of oneself. If we're really exploring, here we are alive, and the invitation of yoga is to explore that aliveness. So as we become more sensitive, and as we come into this equilibrium between, letting and relaxing the way that we use our mind, our attachment to thought, you might say, and coming into a more intuitive place in the body, we can then allow that to open outwardly. Yes? So instead of listening to only our fellow species member, instead of listening exclusively to all of the bombardment of information that is at our fingertips 24/7, we begin to slow down enough, relax enough, become intuitive enough to start to actually listen to the depth of the earth beneath us. It's right there holding us. It's where we come from. To be able to listen to the wind, to be able to pay attention to the subtlety of the incredible shifts of the seasons, to be able to listen to the beauty and the intelligence of the songbirds, the clouds in the sky. This is all, we're all part of this. This is why we get to investigate what the profundity of yoga is, that we're missing nothing. Nothing is missing. But we need to open our eyes. We need to slow down enough to see that there is guidance, information, and the vibration of our intuition vibrates out and to the world at large, and it vibrates back in right into ourselves. And this is so incredibly important if we truly want to be balanced. And then what's really beautiful about that as well is it's not about
something is wrong, I need to fix something. We simply feel when we move out of this alignment, we can feel it. We become that sensitive. We're paying attention at that level. And then we receive unique guidance in how to move back into alignment. So there's no fixing, there's no, even though fixing may be part of it, because that intuition may say, hey, this needs to be fixed, and we go fix it. Nothing is out of the realm of this beautiful spectrum of misalignment and alignment. And the foundation of this, as I'm saying, is to deeply rest, to trust, and to pay attention. Okay, so let's come on up, if you will. And what I would like to do is come into what in yin we call a sleeping swan. And let's start with the left leg. So I brought my two pillows out. You may want some, and I want to bring a third thing. I'm going to bring my little blanket out as well. And I'll show you what I use the little blanket for. But the pillows, if this position feels a little inaccessible to you, or super uncomfortable to where it doesn't feel safe, there's ways we can prop it up. So I'm going to just kind of show it on an angle, but from sitting with the soles of the feet together, let's leave the left leg bent in front of us, yeah? And then we're going to take the right leg and extend it back. Doesn't need to be straight. We're not trying to press that right hip down, just so you'll feel it, it'll open up. And then this leg at a 90-degree angle doesn't need to stay there. A big concern is pressure on the knee here when we start to come forward. So if that's the case, you can bring it in towards you, and this significantly releases a lot of the tension on the knee. The two places where the support comes in, one, you can bring up this left hip and put a pillow under the buttocks or a bolster. So this kind of evened out my hips, takes a lot of the pressure off, and also straight forward like this. So if you need to lean on something forward, a couple of pillows or the bolster here. The reason I recommended the little blanket is when I come forward, if I like to keep my neck straight here, but not smush my nose on the rug. So just put your forehead on something. So there's space between your nose and the floor. So this is quite nice like this, just something under the forehead. And then you can see, a lot of stuff going on here. Be careful of the knee. We're compressing obviously into that left piriformis and hip. So you can put something under that left hip if you need to. And just settle in for a bit here. I love how Carl Jung tries to articulate this sense of aliveness. He says that it's nothing more than islands of memory afloat in a sea of vagueness. And I do understand, that, initially that can be contracting, that can be frightening and disorienting, that it's just a process, that there's an organic unfolding of experience, and that experience unfolds to experience, and that ultimately, if we do get very quiet, we can see that there's nothing to hold on to. There's just this, like I said earlier, this openness, this presence, this awareness. And once we, get over that initial shock, it can be very liberating. And that's what actually the liberation is, the awakening is. And so then the mind wants to rebel, because the mind, like I said earlier, wants to be dominant, wants something to do. So I believe the trick in this fullness of our aliveness is to allow the mind to rest in gratitude, allow the mind to find ways to celebrate this aliveness, allow the mind to find ways to be creative with this aliveness. It doesn't have to generate it, it doesn't have to control it, but it can join in the celebration.
Okay, let's begin to bring the upper body up. And one of the things I like to do before I completely release this is just come to the palms and straighten the elbows and just kind of soften in, sway into the lower back a little bit. And if you do feel something in that, right up in the depth of the buttocks there, make a note of that, and then we're going because we're going to keep targeting that area with the next part of this. We're going to add something to this. So from here, let's bring that right leg back around front, and we can just straighten both legs out for a moment. And then let's take the right leg and bring it in towards your body. So just bend it in front of you. And then I have my pillows here, and we're going to take the left leg and just put it in front of this right leg. We're not going to bring it up on top for a more traditional square. We're going to do this open square. So you can slide it out, open it as much as you would like, but the openness of it, well, you'll see, it's hopefully going to go back down into there or somewhere. The reason I have the pillows is if you're not familiar with this pose, it's sometimes nice just to rest the arms on and soften in. If you don't need it, and you can go to your hands or your forearms and just kind of relax into it, drop the head down. If you're not used to doing this position, go very slowly. Again, be interested in the way that the sensations are layered. It's not either in or out, but it's a layering and a sensitivity to the sensations. This is why we spend so much time in these poses to be able to explore that. And so again, the left leg is forward, out in front of the right leg. And part of the great gift of this approach to the body, the qualities of yin, of slowing down, sensitivity, subtlety, receptivity, is that we get to allow the discomfort itself, just the raw experience of discomfort, to make us more alert, not miserable, to give us more time between the experience and the reaction, and to see that the discomfort is always, and I don't use the word always very often, but the discomfort is always a lesson, always a teaching, always has the intelligence of healing embedded within it. So we get to practice, we get to see that the discomfort can make us more sensitive and more alert instead of miserable.
So if we're at the place of being miserable discomfort, then we practice, then we back away and we rest more and we become more sensitive. So we're working, yes, with the body, we're working with the mind, but we're also working with the feedback that these two things give us, whether this is emotional, psychological, or physical discomfort. If it's making us miserable, we want to pay attention to that. We want to relax, we want to soften, we want to take care so we can be more alert to what is the guidance, what is the message. Okay, so let's come on up from this forward bend. Let both of your legs relax out. Let's lie down and let's take a rest, since we did two things there. So we'll take a rest and we'll do the other side. And really, that's what really meditation is. Meditation does not need to be complicated. Meditation does not lead to awakening or enlightenment, because we are already awakened and enlightened. There's nothing missing. Meditation, and this I consider a somatic meditation. Meditation is simply to have more time and space to see everything that's happening, all our processes, all our thinking, all of our stories that we're so intertwined with. So we have more time and space to see what's happening, all of these experiences, but then also to see who it is that's being present with what's happening. And slowing down into the quietness and the safety of oneself, this is a beautiful way to do that. This is what meditation is. And we can also apply that to this, this sense of being alive. So what we're connecting with is this felt sense, this tangible sense of our aliveness. It's visceral, it's direct. And then we can see, oh, well, I have a story. I'm superposing a story on that. I have a process. If I do this, I'll get there. If I would have done that, I should have been there. And we get to relax that process. We get to relax those stories and just feel this tangible sense of aliveness and how it is unfolding, how it's not graspable. So it's very, very beautiful. Very beautiful to be alive. Okay, so let's come on up and let's do the other side, if you will, if you want to. So this time we're going to bend this right leg in front of us, and I did it on an angle before to show you, but I'm starting off with the right angle because we have leeway. Sometimes if you're feeling like you really want to deepen this and explore from the 90 degrees, you can push it forward. This will stress the knee, however, which nothing wrong with that if the knee can handle that, and will also address the IT bend from the knee up into the hip. Most of us like to pull it in, take the stress off the knee. Again, you don't need to straighten this back leg. If you're feeling like the hips, it's very awkward, bring that right hip up, sit, I'm putting the small bolster under that. This evens out my hips, makes it much more accessible, and bring your bolster or the pillows to lean on. If your head's coming all the way down, you might want to put the forehead on a little pillow or a blanket, or you may not want or need any of these fancy bolsters and just relax onto the floor.
put the forehead on the back of the hands.
So there's no need to focus. If you find yourself focusing, just feel. If you find yourself preoccupied with some aspect of your mind, just listen to the pulsation of your body. You find yourself uncomfortable to the point of anxiety or distraction, don't allow that to make you miserable. Just allow it to make you more alert. What is the message? What is the feedback?
So once again, if you like, you can come up to your palms, straighten your elbows a bit, and just have a little, uh, just a little sway and movement into your lower back. And then let's take that back leg, that left leg, and bring it forward for a moment, and we'll transition into that forward bend. So on this side, then we'll bring the left leg in, since we did the other side, and then we'll take that right leg and put it out in front. I'm suggesting the open position of this. And then something, sometimes it's nice just to have some support, better to go in nice and slow, especially when the knees are involved and the hips. Really investigate the feedback is there for a reason. It wants your attention. So we don't want to just, go as deep as we think we should or could, and then, struggle and hope we make it, wish it was over. No, no, no. This is to, cultivate this relationship with this felt sense of the soma, this felt sense of this tangible aliveness, and then just sink into it.
very beautiful thing about this teaching is that it reveals itself naturally and organically. As I mentioned earlier, we don't have to seek, we don't have to fight for this, we certainly don't have to earn this. Really, what we do is we just practice how to soothe ourselves and to anchor ourselves, to be able to just sit in one place quietly, to not obsess, to not be concerned, to rest deeply, and to trust. And to embrace that it is an unfolding, that this raw experience is just, it's just one wave after another wave after another wave, and we don't have to get attached to the waves when we know we're the ocean. And so it's very beautiful that way, and it is a way to relax with one's life and to trust one's life, but to just be able to soothe oneself, to come into a place of equanimity and feel grounded, and then just listen and observe. We all have that capacity. Okay, so let's come on up from this forward bend and let's take another rest. So lie down, make yourself comfortable. So let us come on up and just like to go into the knees a bit and the upper spine. So if you're able to sit with your knees bent back, and if you can do this unsupported, that would be up to you. I prefer to sit between the heels instead of on the heels, but you could sit on the heels if you like. You could sit between the heels. If this is a little bit too much, I understand. You can start to prop yourself up by sitting on some pillows or the bolster. So you can just make some space between the knees. If not, if bending the knees is not an option because of an injury or they're just not ready, then you can just sit cross-legged. So I just want to get to a point of compression where you're giving the knees some of this compression. Very, very tricky joints like the ankles, ligamented muscles. So we want to keep them open. They affect the health of the hips.
Who knew, huh? That they were connected. So if you can do that, if not, you can sit. And then what I would like to do is just simply bring the arms behind you and interlock the fingers. And if that's not possible, you could just fold up a blanket or a towel and just hold the arms that way, just hold each end of the towel. So I want to bring the arms up a little bit to just to open the top of the chest and open the shoulders back. So don't go too deep with this. Go to a place you can hold it. Same thing with the knees. If sitting just between the heels is going to strain a bit and distract you, I'd rather have it where it's just enough compression so you can settle into it, kind of, meditate on what the knees are up to. And same thing, we'll bring the arms up just enough to open the upper chest and bring the shoulders back. Yeah, so we'll set this up. We'll be here for a bit. And then just bring the bottom of the chin so it's parallel to the floor. And we'll just get into a little bit of neck mobility here. And do this very slowly. So with the bottom of the chin parallel to the floor, just bring the head side to side. So the chin's going towards the right shoulder, the chin's going to the left shoulder. And when you get to the end of your range of motion, just lean into it just a little bit. You're not trying to force your way through it, but just really feel it. Like if there's tightness there, if there's discomfort there, what is it? And just go back and forth, nice and slow. So the chin going towards each shoulder, slowing down enough to soften into it at the end. Trying to keep those arms up just a bit. Again, don't force it. If you need to rest the hands down, go ahead and do that. And then let's come back to straight spine, bottom of the chin parallel to the floor. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to drop the chin down towards the chest and bring the chin up towards the ceiling. Try to keep some space in the back of the neck. So don't just drop the head down, but really feel like you're pulling the head up. So you're bringing the face up to the ceiling. Chin down. And then chin up and really feeling like you're pulling that base of the skull up with it. Chin down, chin up. Again, nice and slow. And anything occurs to you or you feel anything, slow down even more, lean into it. I'm just, speaking at this pace just for, instruction, but go as slow as you would like. So we want to explore the resistance. We don't want to resist the resistance. It will guide you if you are subtle and kind with it. Good. So let's bring the straight spine, bottom of the chin again, parallel to the floor. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to bring left ear to left shoulder, but not thinking that the left ear is going to drop down to the shoulder, but the right ear is pulling up towards the sky, and then right ear to right shoulder. But again, we're not dropping that right ear so much as we're feeling like we're pulling this left ear up, like really opening this left side of the neck. So every time that the ear goes to the shoulder, the opposing side is like stretching and pulling up. And we'll just do that for a bit. Right ear to right shoulder, left ear to right shoulder. Nice and easy. And this is really a good one where you could just really slow down, even just, stop for a while and just feel it. Good. So let's come back to neutral. And just one more. And if you'd like to, for this one, you can just release the arms. You can keep them there if you'd like, but let's not suffer. So this one is interesting. Actually do release your arms and maybe just put your hands on your chest so we don't get the chest so involved. So with the spine straight and the bottom of the chin parallel to the floor, what we're going to basically do is jut the whole head out
and then pull it back in. So you kind of make that little fat chin, that triple, double chin feeling, and chin out, head out, and in, kind of like a sphinx thing. I don't know why I think of a sphinx with this thing, but you know, the head out and just pull it back in. And just feel, this is just for neck mobility. So we're going through the range of all the range of motion here and just easing into it. Nice and slow. Good. And then you can relax the arms down. And then for the final thing, just let your head just intuitively go wherever it would like. And if you did encounter resistance, discomfort, pain, you may just want to make a note of it or send it some loving kindness. And just kind of feel what's going on up there. Good. Good. So we can now, let's release the knees. Hopefully you are able to do that, and we'll just stretch them out. Maybe have a little movement of the feet side to side. Oh yeah, the knees, huh? What a concept, knees. And now what I would like to do, I don't really think we need a rest from that, is I want to take something like the height of the bolster or higher if you would like. So I'm gonna, if you have the bolster, the big bolster, maybe the height of the big bolster, when you see what we're doing, if you would like to add something to it and go higher, depending on how your pelvis is feeling, you could do that. If you do not have the bolsters, what works best for this is to fold up a pretty sturdy blanket to sort of make a block out of it so it can then compress into the, so something like this. So I've got the firmness and the approximate height of the bolster. Yeah, but I'm going to use the bolster to show this. And then what we're simply going to do is we're going to put the bolster or bolsters or folded up blanket behind us, put the feet on the floor, elevate the hips up, and put the back of the pelvis on this. So not like we started with the lower back. This is clearly going to be the pelvic area. Yep. So below, right below the lumbar, sort of where the hip bones are and down, that's the pelvis. And then with the feet on the floor, bring the upper body down. And you may have to lower it a bit if you're in the lower back at all. So again, you feel this sort of sacral area, back of the pelvis, and then just let the legs relax out. You can open them a little bit wider than the hips. The arms can just be at the side. The back of the head can just be on the floor. We don't want too much pillow back there to tuck the chin down, especially with the compression in the pelvis. And then just check in a bit. If it's just right, perfect. If you do want a little bit more height, that's your choice. If you need something a little less, set that up. But we do want some compression here, kind of pulling on the ligaments of the pelvis and feeling it. And just a reminder, and I think this is sort of an ongoing, an ongoing deepening realization that we cultivate when we're in these body consciousness practices, that it's never really the feelings that we're having, it's never the thoughts that we're having, and it's never the sensations that we're having, it's our relationship to them. So one of the things that we can do to start to cultivate more space, just in general, in those three categories, is to notice how quickly we react. How quickly do we react to a thought, an emotion, a bodily sensation? And can we slow that process down? Can we get some space between what we're actually feeling and the natural, almost habitual response of a reaction? And this is a lovely way to start to tease out some space between ourselves and these experiences we're having, because so much of our reactions are habits, our conditions, our programming. And again, this takes me back to what I was saying about meditation. The meditation is simply to observe these things, observe these arisings, observe these relationships and reactions to our mind and our body and our feelings. And then at the same time, sit in stillness and be present with them and investigate who is it that is sitting in stillness and being present. So hopefully you're taking some time to really appreciate and feel the sensitivity of this area, any misalignment, any contraction, any resistance. And if you're good with just both legs out and just continuing to allow your awareness to kind of permeate this area, perfectly fine. If you'd like to intensify a little bit into the hip area, allow the right leg to just stay relaxed and extended, and pull that left foot up and in, almost like a half butterfly position. But you're going to place that left foot either, kind of under the thigh a bit, so it angles down, it relaxes down, and you'll feel this tugging on this left hip. It's a lovely hip opener. But your choice, it does kind of take a little bit away from the concentration into the sacral pelvic area. So again, just your choice and option to do this. So if you have that left leg bent up and you'd like to switch, this would be a good time to do it, but you could stay with that if you'd like, or move at your own pace. But if you like a sense of symmetry, you could extend the left leg out and bring the right leg up, and then just again let that foot find its way under that left thigh somewhere. You'll feel it, and then the weight of that right leg will pull into that that hip area. So one of the ways that we can really deepen this this invitation of the yoga to relax into our sense of self as awareness, as this open, spacious awareness, is to start to explore that awareness itself has no qualities. The qualities arise and fade in awareness. The changeability of everything is playing out in awareness. Our stories unfold in awareness, our fears and our joys, but awareness itself, no qualities at all. So this becomes the place of rest. This becomes the ground of our being, as yoga calls it. And then from there, we see urges and impulses and habits, mind, body, heart, world. But it's all a play. It's all a drama that is appearing and then disappearing. It has no content. Awareness, consciousness has no content at all. The content arises within the consciousness, within the awareness. So this is lovely to know when we want to go deep into a sense of our own inner peacefulness and equilibrium, a sense of contentment, sense of safety, and most importantly, a sense of rest. So if you have that right leg out and you might want to straighten it out, this would be a good time. And then I'm going to suggest a little intuitive movement here. So depending on how you're feeling in this area, you may want to just put the feet on the floor and just let the knees have a little sway back and forth. If you're feeling a little bit more ambitious, you may bring the knees up to the chest. You know, just be careful of the balance and get some sway there. Sort of this will start to counter into a bit of a forward bend if you bring the knees up. So be aware of that and just have a little bit of movement here. And then when you're ready, you can find your way off of whatever bolstering you've been using. And if you would like to find your way into a final Shavasana, this would be the time, or any other movement or position you feel called to, or you could sit up with me for a few moments and we will prepare to close our practice. You are not broken, not fragmented, not separate. You are a perfect masterpiece. Namaste.